So the first speaker who's going to come up now is Yuta Lee, who leads a company named Accelerated Biosciences. And as you will hear, he is working with a very unusual type of stem cell. And he's also a great party animal. So please, my friend Yuta.
Is mic on? Yes. Thank you, Aubrey. I'm so happy to be here. It's my first year. And I can't believe the energy. It's insane. You can swim in it. Incredible. Thank you all for creating this energy. I mean, it takes all of you to do this. So thank you very much. So imagine starting a therapy at age 30, and when you get to 100, you still have internal organs of a 30-year-old. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. Right. Well, prevention, I think, is the basis for longevity. And this is my moonshot, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I'm going to get it done. My talk today is called Industrializing Youth. We have a stem cell platform called the human trophoblast stem cell, which happens to be the earliest stem cells you could possibly find without any ethical issues. And we're going to use those stem cells to create the most powerful regenerative messages or signals to tell your cells to reverse their age. Okay? Now, the key is going to be scale and immune privilege. So I'll show you how we're going to do this. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you about my journey into cell and gene therapy and our cells, the HTSCs, human trophoblast stem cells. Some of the work that number two, the work that we're doing with the National Institute on Aging. And three, how we're going to make it industrial. Really scale it up so that everybody, no matter what socioeconomic position you have, can use it. And that's most important. Yeah! Did you know, as of last month, there are already 43 cell and gene therapies approved by the FDA? It's pretty incredible. Why is this important? It's because the last 200 years we've been living on chemical drugs, right? And these chemical drugs, although they've really improved our health span and lifespan, we're kind of taking hits in our liver and our kidneys, right? So I think the next revolution, as Liz Parrish already pointed out, is going to be regenerative medicine. For me, I call it cell and gene therapy, okay? So in this sector, there are already 18 cell therapies approved by the FDA. Now, this is using healthy cells to go and repair or replace damaged cells, okay? And in gene therapy, there are already 13 approved that Liz already went through, so I won't go through anymore. But there are one-shot deals. I mean, literally, you take one shot and you're done. Amazing. And there are 12 therapies, which I love. They're called CAR-T therapies and TCRs. CAR-Ts are chimeric antigen receptor T cells, which we really are using now to give leukemia a good run, okay? Incredible remission rates. And recently, the first TCR, T-cell receptor therapy, was passed for the first solid tumor, which is incredible, synovial sarcomas. Okay? So keep your eye out for cell and gene therapies, because I believe in the next 20 years, this is where a lot of miracles are going to happen for us. That's my dad. So Professor Jiaonan Li, he discovered the human trophoblast stem cell in 2003. And he's an MD PhD. He got his MD in Tohoku University in Sendai, Japan, and his PhD at St. Bart's University, London. Right? So my journey into cell and gene therapy happened in 2005 when he came to me and said, Yuta, I found a really interesting stem cell. You're a business guy, do something with this. To which I respond, hey, Dad, you know, I went to Berkeley for law and economics. What the hell do you want me to do? Right? My last class in biology was in high school, right? So, but as a good son, I decided to take it on as a personal challenge. So I started on a journey to relearn everything biology. And today, we already have these stem cells commercialized, manufactured at GMP, and we're hopefully going into the clinic very, very soon. All right, let me tell you where all these stem cells come from. What you see here is a timeline of fetal development. The first 8 weeks is embryonic, and from 8 weeks to the birth event at 38 weeks is fetal. And everything after that is considered adult, okay? So the earliest cells you can find are these human embryonic stem cells, which are taken from leftover embryos from IVF clinics, right? But using that has a lot of ethical issues with it because you're destroying a potential life, people get uncomfortable, right? The next place you can find them are our cells, the human trophoblast stem cells. And we get them from ectopic pregnancies between 4 to 8 weeks. And I'll tell you a little more about that in a little bit. And in everything else after that, you have fetal cells, usually from abortions, also very sketchy. And then you get a lot of cells from the birth event at 38 weeks. Most of them are MSCs, or mesenchymal stromal cells. Okay? So you get cord blood, placenta, amnion, lots of stuff you can get from there. And everything after that is adult, so fat, adipose tissue, or bone marrow. Okay? And of course, Bill Falloon already talked about Shinya Yamanaka and iPSCs, which is incredible. In 2006, when we reported this, it changed everything, especially for our industry. Why? If you can reprogram an adult cell to go all the way back to being a stem cell again, that means you can do that with every cell in your body, right? And if that's possible, you know what? Longevity is just an engineering problem. So thanks to all the researchers out there that are working on this, and thanks to kudos to all of the reprogramming companies that are out there. So if you're investors, invest in them. All right, ectopic pregnancies. On the left side, you'll see a blastocyst or an embryo at 5 days. At 5 days, it differentiates into the inner cell mass, which is where human embryonic stem cells come from, and that later becomes the baby. The ring on the outside is the trophectoderm. That's where our cells come from, and that later becomes the placenta. And in an ectopic pregnancy, what happens is the embryo is traveling down a fallopian tube, and it gets stuck. And it'll keep growing until it bursts the tube. And if it bursts the tube, the mother may die of internal bleeding. Okay? So it's actually the highest cause of death in first trimester pregnancies. And so what happens is a woman would feel sharp pain, go to the ER, get scanned, the doctor will go, ooh, you have an ectopic, we have to schedule an emergency salpingectomy. And what they do is they ablate both sides of the tube, and they use a scope to remove the mass. And when they do, they just give it to the pathologist to check, yep, it's an ectopic, and they can throw it away. And the reason why they do that is because the embryo on the left side needs to implant into the mother by day 7 or day 8. But you don't discover an ectopic until 4 to 8 weeks. So there are many weeks in between where that embryo is not attached to the mother, there's no nutrients going to it. So all OBGYNs understand it to be non-viable, right? So 2 facts. You have to make the surgery to save the mother, and the fetus is already non-viable. My father, MD, PhD, was performing this in 2003, took this mass out, and was thinking to himself, why are we throwing this stuff away? There's got to be amazing stem cells in here, right? But to avoid all the ethical issues, he scrapes off the chorionic villi, which is the preplacental tissue, hands the rest of the mass back to the pathologist, who checks it and throws it away. And because of that, we now have the earliest stem cells that you could possibly source without any ethical issues. Now, they have incredible, incredible characteristics. For one, we're able to scale them out to 85 population doublings. That's equivalent to e to the 25 cells. Now imagine, number 1, with 25 zeros behind it. That's enough cells to create 2 trillion human beings. Scale solved, right? That's how we're going to do it. The second thing is immune privilege. All of our cells express a surface marker called HLA-G. Okay. Now, I want you to imagine something. The embryo is a recombination of the father's gene and the mother's gene, right? So how come this alien thing can attach itself to the mother without her immune system going completely haywire, going, hey, get this thing off of me, right? Well, it turns out the placenta has a role. The placenta has a surface marker called HLA-G that dampens down the mother's immune system that now allows the embryo to stay attached. And this marker is so powerful that you can actually take an embryo now and implant it in a surrogate mother, a woman that's completely biologically non-related, to help you carry that baby to term. That's a pretty incredible shortcut if you think about it, right? So our cells express all of this. And even when we differentiate them to neuroprogenitor cells and pancreatic progenitor cells, the marker sticks. That means they're really ideal for therapeutics. Where we've done 5 different animal studies using human cells in immune-competent rats, and they survive every single time, no tumor or teratomas. Pretty exciting. So we're the only platform that has scale and immune privilege. Let me tell you another story. We started working with the NIA about 2 years ago. The researcher called me and said, Yuta, we saw one of your presentations. You had the earliest cells without ethical issues. I said, yes, we do. We just manufactured a GMP, right? What do you need? Send me all your conditioned media. So we packaged up 6 liters of frozen media and sent it to the NIH. Then I called a guy up and I said, what are you doing with this stuff? And he proceeds to tell me the great story of the heterochronic parabiosis studies done at Stanford about 20 years ago, where they stitched 2 mice together, right? So one circulatory blood system, one old mouse and one young mouse. And it turns out that the old mouse was getting biologically younger and the young mouse biologically older. Incredible, right? So based on this, he was thinking, well, what would happen then if you take the proteins off of the earliest stem cells and put it towards senescent cells? And that's what we've been doing for the last year. So the NIA is going out to senescent cells, or senescence, and these senescent cells are zombie cells that are in our body that keeps putting out these inflammatory messages called SASPs. I'm sure you've heard of them, senescence-associated secretory phenotypes. And these SASPs are really related to all the disease that we kind of know today. So whether it's HTSCs or SASPs or senescent cells or even tumor cells, how do they communicate? They're actually sending out these bilipid layers called extracellular vesicles, okay, to signal to other cells around them, right? And I want to make one thing clear here. All bilipid layer bubbles are called extracellular vesicles. But when you call them exosomes, they're only limited to a range of about 30 to 150 nanometers, okay? So all exosomes are EVs, but not all EVs are exosomes, okay? Remember that. So the NIA went through a 3-step plan: characterization, in vitro, in vivo, and here's some of the quick data. In vitro, the transcriptomics show that we can systemically downregulate all inflammation in the mRNA. And the same thing for the proteome. All the proteins relating to SAPs were downregulated. Then we discovered that we are suppressing NF-kappa B, one of the activators of inflammation. And we're also providing defense against double-stranded DNA breaks. And the in vivo data was also consistent. But there were so many markers, I said, please just give me 4 of the most important ones. So these are 4 that we're using. And so now we have potency assays for this. And we discovered all of the indications on the right side relating to these 4 markers, going from a lot of autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, et cetera. So we have the ideal platform. But guess what I don't have? I don't have domain knowledge over all of these diseases, nor do I have patient access. So my call to you guys is, if you know of any researchers or companies that are going after anything related to inflammation, please call me, because I have the right material for them. Already manufactured GMP, and we have all the IP around it. Internally, we're going after chronic fatigue syndrome with one of the largest hospital systems in the country. And the doctors approached me and said, Yuta, we saw your presentation also, and we love it. We think that we have so many patients that we don't know what to do with, but we believe your exosomes might actually help. So we're heading towards the clinic on that one. But that's all sick care. I really believe health span and longevity really lives in prevention. Right? So the moonshot is to discover if we can use these HT TSC EVs to slow down, stop, or reverse biological aging. So we're actively testing some clocks now to have a baseline. The question is, how will we make it affordable? We're currently manufacturing our exosomes to a 5-liter scale, and we're hoping to expand that to 50 liters, and later we discovered in our models that if we get to about 50,000 liters, we can get the price to drop down to basically 120-fold. That's how we democratize this. So these human trophoblast stem cells provide the earliest, most potent regenerative signals with natural immune privilege. Manufactured at scale GMP, we can really make prevention affordable to everyone. We can industrialize youth. Thank you very much. And if you want to know more, you can go to the ExoBio booth or go talk to Sandra Kaufman at Club Exosome. Thank you.
Or catch him anytime in the next 24 hours, I guess. But yeah, I'm afraid we don't have any time for questions right now. But thanks so much, Yuta.
Thank you.